So you need help setting up a Plex server on Ubuntu 22.04 server edition? Well, I got you covered. What's up, guys? It's Josh back with another video, and today I wanted to do a quick video showing you guys how to get Plex Media Server installed on Linux, your Linux server. And I'm gonna specifically talk about Ubuntu 22.04. That's like one of the most popular Linux distributions that's used for desktop, but it's also has a big following of people that use the server edition. It's a great option to set up your Linux server. Now you can set this up in a virtual machine, you can set it up in the cloud if you want to. There are ways to actually do it and set it up in the cloud and connect to your media from there, but I'll just show you guys how to set it up at your house on a virtual machine. Let's say you have a Proxmox server or something to that effect. I wanted to walk you guys through how to set up your Plex server and then host all your media on your local network. And you can connect to it, you know, via whatever you want to use. Like I use Google Chromecast. I have them set up on my TVs, and then some of your TVs, they are internet connected. You can connect, you can install the Plex app, and then you connect to your media that you have stored on your server, you know, your Plex server that you have on your local network, and watch all your legal videos, you know, from, you know, your server on your network. So let's go down and hop right to it, and I'll walk you guys through how to quickly set this up. It's not that difficult. I'll show you guys the website right fast where you can get all the links from in a couple seconds, and then also each link or each command that I run will be on my documentation website, and I'll have the link down in the description of the video so you guys can follow along with everything I do to set this server up. So let's get started. Before we move forward, I wanted to give a quick shout out to CIQ, the official partner of Rocky Linux. Rocky Linux is a Linux distribution that is intended to be a downstream complete binary compatible release using the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system source code. The project is led by Gregory Kurtzer, who was the founder of the CentOS project. So check out Rocky Linux at ciq.co. Now, before I kick off showing you guys how to install it, I want to go to their website. This is basically plex.tv. You can actually go here and get a dev package from their site. I'm gonna show you guys how to add that repository though on Ubuntu. But you can come here, just go under downloads. It'll automatically recognize what you're connecting from, so it knows that I'm connected from Linux. But most of the time, you know, you're not going to have a browser set up on your server, so you have to follow the links I put in my documentation website, which will be updated, you know, with the latest link to the repository and all that stuff. You can add that to your server, and then you can get all the future updates of Plex on your server every time you run like updates on the server. But all you have to do is hit choose. It's going to automatically recognize it. Click choose distribution, because there are different distributions. They have Ubuntu 16.0 plus, you know, that means anything above 16.04 server edition, and then Debian 8 plus, you know, that's the Intel AMD. They have a 32-bit dev package, and they also have a 64-bit dev package, and then also ARM. So if you want to set one of these up on a Raspberry Pi, for instance, you can download the ARM version. They also have Fedora CentOS packages, which is a RPM package, and that's a 32-bit as well as 64-bit. I just want to show you guys this, that you can get it directly from there, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do it, you know, on my system. And actually, if you do it, you could do it this way. You can copy this link to whatever distribution you have, and then do a wget that'll download the dev package on your server. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit different way. You can do it either way, however you want to do it, and that'll get it installed as well properly. But let's go down and hop over to my virtual machine so we can get this thing installed. Okay, cool. So I'm logged into my Ubuntu 22.04 server using SSH. That's the easiest way to connect to your server. Just to show you guys, this is on my local network, but it is Ubuntu 22.04. I just did some updates, but I wanted to at least show you guys how to update it if this is your first time. But sudo apt updates, and then I always run the commands together, but sudo apt upgrade, and then that's why, so it'll go down and answer that question. But that's one of the first things you want to do. You want to run sudo apt update. That'll refresh the repositories, the current repositories, and then check for updates, and then it'll upgrade. So that's what that ampersand is. It basically says if this command runs successfully, then run this command after it. So ampersand, and then sudo apt upgrade. And then there's a question typically when you run updates. It's basically verifying that you want to make changes to the disk by installing the actual new packages or updates to the server. So let's go down and run that. I know it's no updates because I just updated this thing, but I wanted to run it so you guys know that this is part of the steps. So as you can see, no updates. It'll tell you right here, it'll say 0 upgraded, but it'll say like how many packages needs to be upgraded, and then it'll go down and go to the upgrade process of upgrading those packages. So we are good to go. Now, there are some dependencies that we need to install, or at least verify that they're on here. And I have a lot of these commands copied so I can paste them in there. So I want you guys to follow my link to my documentation page, and it'll go through with all of these commands. But these are the dependencies. So apt transport port dash https, and then curl if we don't have it, and wget if we don't have it, which I'm sure both of those packages are on here. Pretty much all of those packages should be on here. And it looks like one of them wasn't. Let's see which one it wasn't on there. As you can see, wget was on there, curl was also on there. I believe this is the only package that needs to be installed. So the apt transport dash https, that had to be installed, so that's installed. We are good to go. Now, the next thing you want to do is go down and install the Plex repository. And I'll show you guys how to do that. I have the command already copied, echo dev, and basically what it's doing is grabbing that GPG key from the Plex server, or the Plex server, and then also adding that repository to our list. So when we run a sudo apt update, it'll connect to their repository to actually get any updates or changes, or of course install the application as well. So let's go down and press enter. That'll add that to the system, and we'll be good to go with the packages being checked, or the updates being checked as we install it, as well as installing the actual application. Now, with this being said, up here at the top, it's looking for the Plex GPG key, which we have not downloaded. So let's go through and download that first, or download that next, and let's just paste it in there. But it's simply using wget. We're downloading the GPG key, basically so you can verify that it's coming from the right location, as well as adding that GPG key to the system. That way, when we do run the update, it'll use this signed key, GPG key, to verify that we're pulling from the right repository. So let's go down and press enter. Boom, it'll add that repository. So let's press enter. Let's just clear that up a little bit, but we are good to go. We added that GPG key, and we're good to go. All right, so the next thing we need to do is just go down and install the Plex Media Server. But first, you want to run a update. That way it'll refresh the repositories on the system. So sudo apt update, let's run that, and then we should see that Plex repository now. So you should see that on your system as well. Now we should be able to run sudo apt install Plex, and I'm gonna tab it out. That should, it should automatically auto fill it out. -y, they'll go through, go through and install everything, dependencies and all that stuff for the Plex Media Server and get it up and running on our system. And I'll be back when this actually completes, because sometimes it takes a little bit. Alright, so the Plex server is officially installed on our Ubuntu 22.04, and we can verify that by using the systemctl commands. So we can run sudo system, and we didn't have to type sudo, but I'm gonna type it anyway. But sudo systemctl status, and make sure you spell it right. But Plex Media Server .service. So let's press enter, and we can verify that the service is active and running. And then we can also look to see if the service is enabled. That's one thing you want to verify. So whenever you have to reboot this server, Plex will store it up soon as the system comes back up. So it's enabled and started currently. So we're good to go. So let's press Q. That'll get us back to the terminal. And there's one other thing you want to do once Plex is installed. It uses port 32.400. So we have to open that up in our firewall if we are going to use a firewall. And I recommend, if you're going to connect this server to the internet, you need to turn on the firewall. So we could verify the status of our firewall by typing sudo UFW and then status, and this will give us the status of our firewall. UFW, as you can see, it's inactive at the moment. So what you want to do now, because right now we SSH into the server, you want to verify that OpenSSH is enabled, as well as go down and open up our port for our Plex server before we activate UFW. Because if you do it before you open up those ports, we're going to lose our port 22 connection, which is OpenSSH. So all we have to do is type sudo UFW allow and then open SSH, and that should open up our OpenSSH servers. That's our port 22. And then also let's go through and open up our 32.400. And let's press enter, and I'll open up the ports for that as well. So that's our Plex ports, and that's our OpenSSH port. So now we can enable our firewall. So we can type sudo UFW enable and press enter, and that'll enable our firewall. You want to type Y right here, and this is what I was saying. It'll disrupt your existing SSH connection if you didn't open up OpenSSH. That's why it's verifying that you want to proceed. So type Y, press enter, it'll inactivate it, and we're good to go. As you can see, firewall is active and enabled, and each time we reboot the server, our firewall is going to be up as well. And then we could just type just to verify everything, but sudo UFW, and let's type status this time, and it should show us our ports that are open. So as you can see, OpenSSH, that's port 22, and then our 32.400 port. It allows all connections in from for that service or that port number. Now let's go down and configure our server, and I won't do much of the configuring. It's all straightforward. I just wanted to show you guys how to actually get to it right fast. And then it all depends on how you have your network set up. So, or like your file set up, they could be in a shared directory, which is kind of the way I do it on my system, or on my network. I have a shared directory with all my files on it that I connect to. It's all depending on how you have this stuff set up at your house. So it's impossible for me to show you all the different ways, but it's straightforward with the connection. Let's go down and go to it. And what you want to do is grab the IP address of your server. So we can type IP and then A, and that will give us the IP address of our server. So 192.168.10.126, that's mine. So you want to find out what yours is, and then we can switch back over to our browser at the moment, and then like I said before, it's 32.400. So let's open up another tab, paste in our IP address, and then also we need to put the port number. So port 32.400. Press enter, and looks like we are having some issues with it, and I think one of the things I need to type was behind this is /web, and that should work. Yeah, there we go. So /web. So you type in the IP address, then the port number, and then /web, and it'll take you to the Plex server. So as you can see, this is the login page for it. So you can log into it. I'm gonna log into it off camera so you guys can actually see once you actually get into it. I don't want you guys to see my login information, so I'll be back in a second when I'm actually logged into it. So you figure out which way you want to log into Plex, and then you can connect to your server from there. Okay, so I typed in my username and password, and it is now bringing up the server. I'm assuming this is because it's the first time. It's taking a little time, but as soon as this comes up, you guys should be able to configure the server, meaning adding your location where your files are located. So I'll be back when this actually comes up. All right, so it's asking me to start syncing. This is my first time seeing that. I'm gonna just hit no on it. But this should be the first thing you see when you get into it. It's basically talking about how Plex works. So Plex Media Server runs on your computer where you keep your media. Please scan your media automatically, organize it, and make it beautiful, or Plex does that. It says plays your media on screen with your favorite Plex apps. So they do have apps for everything. They have apps for your phone, apps for your, I think you need a Plex pass to play things directly on your phone, or on certain apps you got to have a Plex pass, but they do have the app. So let's just see, got it, and then it's gonna advertise for the Plex pass. So $4.99 monthly, $3.99 yearly, and then $119 for the lifetime. The lifetime is the best deal in my opinion. So just go on, if you're gonna pay for this, just go on and pay the $120 for it, and you'll have all these extra features. You can download live TV, DVR, webhooks, parent control, server dashboard, as well as premium music magic. So with music as well, you can put your music on here as well. So we're gonna close that because I'm not gonna sign up for it, but it's gonna ask you for the server name. So you can use whatever the host name, that's what it'll be identified on the network. You could do that. It says allow me to access my media outside of my home. So that is what that port is needed for. So you can click that. That'll allow you to connect to this Plex server from outside of your network. So if you don't want that to happen, just uncheck that. It won't share, or at least try to share, because you also have to open up the port in your router, and it's no way I can show you guys how to do this on your router. I can only show you based on my stuff, and so probably wouldn't help you, because I'm sure if you're watching this video, we probably have a different router at the end of the day. So let's hit next. Now it's going to ask you for your media library. So once we get there, and like I said, this is just some simple configurations. It's going to make a few changes to your system in order to make sure that you can access it from outside the network. Now it says organize your media, boom, so you can add your libraries. So this is where you go in and actually add your library. So, and you select the library by the type. So you got movies, TV shows, music, photos, other video. You just click movies. It's going to ask you the name that you want to do, and then you want to go to add folders, and then what it's going to do is look on your computer, and you can store these, you can store this directory anywhere on your server. It all depends. I know I did in other videos, I showed you how to set up a location under opt, I believe the opt directory or something to that effect, but it really doesn't matter. You just kind of want to make sure the Plex user has access to it in case you need to delete stuff. That's all permission stuff, and I didn't want to go that deep into it, but you find out wherever you want to store it. You can store it within your home directory, whatever. Just add that location here, and you get to go. So I'm gonna hit cancel on that because we're not gonna add any media. Let's hit next, and then let's go on and finish it. Now one thing that it's doing is showing my current server as well, because I logged in under one of my accounts, and so it's showing some stuff that I already have, like movies and stuff. So this is what it'll kind of look like once you have stuff on it. You know what I'm saying? And if you go to more, it'll show you those servers under here. So UBS 22, that's the server. I should have created a new account for this, but whatever. But I do have that's my current Plex server on my network. But I also have, you know, this new server that we set up. So boom, let's go back. But you can list out, like, you can add TV shows, you know, and name them whatever you want, you know, just like that. But that's essentially how it works. And then once you know, download something, or you know, copy your movies from the DVDs that you purchased and store them in a location, then you can add them here, and then all you have to do is go through and it pulls up the information on it. Like, I bought this movie a long time ago, ripped it, put it on my server, but it pulls out, I named it correctly, and then it pulls out the information for it, you know, directed by, and it's super cool. It shows you, you know, the cast, it gives you reviews, and that's like Rotten Tomato reviews, as well as related movies if you want to go through and find something, you know, slightly close to it, you know what I'm saying? So this is an awesome app. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That should be a simple way of setting up a Plex server on your Ubuntu 22.04. That'll walk you guys through it. And like I said, I'll have all the commands I ran down in the description of the video, that link that takes you to my documentation website, so you can get all these commands, copy and paste, follow along, and all that good stuff. But please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave comments down in the comments below. And of course, keep it techie.